Hi, I'm Gavin McGarry, and I'm going to be talking about social media.
Hey, I'm Ben Parsons. Welcome to the Player Power Podcast. Gavin McGarry, welcome. Let's talk social media. Let's talk history of social media. How did we get here?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that because I think a lot of people who are younger and maybe younger athletes don't think about the history of social media and how Facebook was created and how YouTube was created and how much of what they are using today is just run by AI. And you can't game it. What they don't realize is that when we were younger, when I was 10, 15 years ago, you could game these systems. Like I remember posting 120 times on a Facebook page and getting hundreds of thousands of views, right? Because they hadn't worked out the algorithms yet. But now AI runs Facebook and Meta. It runs almost everything. So the platforms that I don't think a lot of people talk about is pay to play. You need to be paying to get real reach on the platforms. But what we usually tell a lot of athletes or people that have their own brands, if you really want to grow quickly, so you start your new Instagram account, you get to a new college, and you want to start, you don't have to spend a lot, like $5, $2 a day, just a little bit, because what happens is the algorithm is constantly looking at whether there's money coming in. They don't mind if there's people on the platform that are growing it. So if you can get people to come to your Instagram or come to your Facebook or TikTok, and you can say, oh, come and find me on TikTok, which happens at colleges, so you might not need to pay. At the end of the day, what's really interesting is that anytime, even up until recently, 3 months ago, anytime you're just doing organic and you add even the smallest amount of money, it triggers something on the platform and you get an increased reach.
Okay, so if you're starting from scratch today, what are you doing? Why are you turning on? Like, walk me through.
Great question, and I think it's really hard. I think, the people out there or listening to us or looking at me are going, this guy's old. Why should I listen to him? Right? Why should I, what does he know? But what I can tell you is that what we've learned over the last 10 years are things that haven't changed. For example, we found out that if you took pictures really badly and put them on Instagram, didn't make them perfect, didn't Photoshop them, just took really bad photos, you got a lot more reach, like sometimes 10, 15 times the reach. Because the algorithms at the time, and maybe the AI is a little less, but the algorithms at the time knew it was a real person taking it and not a brand. So we worked with some of the big colleges and universities here in America, and one of them had a 5-person team and everything was perfect and it was all Photoshopped and they were all super young and they're really good at it. There was this one person who was at a small college and she was really bad at social media because I had to help train her. And I'm like, what's going on? She was taking pictures. They were so bad, like they were almost out of focus. Like you couldn't take them. And she was getting as much reach as this huge university and as much engagement. And we were like, what happened? The only difference was that she was, so we did a bunch of tests and we found that when you are authentic, when you actually took the photo inside the camera, that Facebook knew this or Instagram knew this, and they would reward you with higher reach. And it's the same with money. If you spend a little bit of money in there, you can get higher reach. So to go back to your question, which is what should you do if you're starting a brand new brand? You have to assume that in social media, that if you are a brand new person and you walk into a room of a bunch of people, right? You don't hold up a big banner and scream at everybody and go, hey, it's me, I'm the greatest time. You take your time. You meet a few people, you shake some hands, then you go to the next little party and you do the same thing. Social media is like that. Trying to do everything all at once to grow your audience really big, it's not gonna work. It has to be time over time. They wanna reward you with, oh, are you liking other people's things? Are you following people that are relevant? Or are you just spamming everybody all the time? And they know the difference. This AI is so good now.
Okay, you've started your journey and you've started introducing yourself. One of the things that I often see with athletes, right, is they will just talk about one vertical of themselves. Like, we talk about brand pillars and then getting those brand pillars and placing those pieces of content on social. But I see a lot of athletes, they'll just talk about one thing. And sometimes it's just about their athleticism. So if they're a runner, all their content is about running. And I use that dinner party as an example. If you go to a dinner party and just spoke about one thing, would people be talking to you about at the end of the night, and probably not a lot of people are around you, right? So when you're going onto a platform and starting to build that content strategy inside of it, how do you keep the faith? Because you're putting stuff out there, you might get a couple of likes when you're starting to build, and you're comparing yourself to other people. How do you keep the faith?
Well, I mean, that's pretty individual because, with athletes, they're focused on being athletes. They're not content creators. But I would think we use the quotes bad days. So when we worked with Red Bull or we worked with Formula One or the big guys, I'm like, when does this brand have a bad day? What's the bad day for Formula One? What's the bad day for Red Bull? Because the people think they're like humans, right? So the same thing you have to ask is that a lot of times when people are on Instagram or on TikTok, they only show the good stuff. And that's not how stories work. That's not how content works. You need to talk about the bad days. I heard, well, maybe the athletes can't really talk about injuries, but just say, I'm just having a bad day. I'm not hitting the shots that I want. Talking about that, making it real. And a lot of athletes, what they do is they spend a lot of time, or a lot of brands, people who are brands, spend a lot of time being here all the time. Everything's perfect. My life's perfect. Everything's great. You get bored. You got to have bad days. The people that actually have those days say, I'm a little depressed today, or I didn't get into the college I wanted to go to, or Nike's turned me down, but I'm going to keep trying. Those are very important stories to tell. And I think that, there's other sort of sectors of this grouping that talks about, storytelling with Hess and stuff like that. This is what's super important, is that when you go onto any platform, you must treat it like as if it were a human. That is where AI is right now, right? And a lot of people, we've known it for 5 or 6 years. We've watched Yann LeCun, went to Facebook. He's the top AI guy. The head of Watson came from the UK and went to AI at Facebook. AI has been around for a long time. A lot of people talk about the fact that Facebook actually isn't run by people anymore. It's run by AI. And you can see that with Twitter as well, too. They took it from 8,000 people down to 1,500 people to run Twitter, right? What changed? The AI is getting better. Now, machine learning, AI, we throw around this stuff. It's all very complicated, and we're not really, I don't think a lot of people understand what it means. But at the end of the day, if you can act human, AI knows what it means to act human. Someone coming on and posting 500 things in a day and then liking everything and trying to build up, they know right away and they just suppress it. They shadow ban you immediately. But if you come on and you take a picture of yourself, you say, hey, I'm starting my new account, tell the story as if you're telling it to the AI. It knows.
So you've worked in a lot in sport. If you're an athlete, right, you've name dropped a couple of good ones, like Formula One, Red Bull.
Yeah. What else?
The NCAA.
Yeah.
What are some of those learnings out of them that if you're an athlete, you think they should know?
Well, good question. I mean, it really depends on the brand. Those are brands. I think, athletes themselves I think the hardest thing they struggle with is that they are very focused on just being, to be the very top at what you do is so hard. You have to work at it all the time. Like Steph Curry and, LeBron James and you name it, rugby players, everybody. They've got to work on it all the time. So the content, Instagram is a bit of a distraction. So I have a couple of solutions. One is that if you can pair yourself with someone who's a fan, right? Maybe you're an athlete and you have a girlfriend or a boyfriend or a significant other. And they can be the person that is thinking about the content of what you do, and then you do the content. That takes you away from thinking about it, and they post that for you on your phone. Use your phone, your IP address. Use the same one all the time. They know, don't switch it around. Don't say, I'll take a picture and go Photoshop it, then upload it from another computer to your thing. No, don't do that. Do it all on your phone initially, because then they know it's coming from you. So give it to your significant other. So that's one thing. Have someone else do it for you. If you can't afford someone or you don't have that, then try and do as much you can yourself. But then what we learned from sort of Red Bull and what we learned a lot from I would say even from Formula One is community. So understanding your community. So you're building a community one person at a time. Again, as if you're meeting them and shaking their hand. And you're saying, hey, do you want to come into my community? Right? And then you create a Discord or a Slack. A lot of the people are creating Discords and they put people in the Discord. Why do you do that? Because then you control your community, right? Instagram and Facebook and that you don't control, right? You don't know if everybody's seeing every post. On Discord or on Slack, you know that if you put a post up into a channel, everybody's going to see it.
Can you just explain Discord? For the people that don't know?
Yeah, so Discord is a gaming. It's exactly like Slack. So it's just basically a communication instant messaging platform, and it's used mostly by gamers, mostly by guys. But it's really really good. It's super easy. It's free. You can set it up, and then you create channels in there, and then you go and post in there every once in a while. You have someone who helps you out, and you take your content, you put it in there. But when someone follows you, you say, hey, do you want to join our Discord community? It used to be what email used to be, right? We used to say, oh, join our email list, because at least we can control the email list. Well, now we can't control the email lists, right? I don't know if you have the same thing. Sometimes emails don't get to you. They're not sent the same way. They go into spam. You don't know what's going on, right? But with Discord and Slack, you are able to control your community. So I would say that those are the two key things. Try and see if you can get someone to help you post a little bit, or pick a fan and to do a takeover if you trust the fan. If you're not like a high level athlete, just use a fan who's like, you're going to be posting for me this week. I'll come and do stuff. Some people love that. Like when you're an athlete at a big university, a Big Ten university or something like that, here in America or anywhere really, fans will help you out. Or what we sometimes do is that I worked with one, I forget who it was, but I worked with one athlete where they would never post anything themselves. They only took stuff from fans that they had posted. So if someone posted a picture of him, he'd say, hey, can I use that photo? He would grab the photo and he would put it up on his own Instagram. So then he started building all these fans really quickly, right? Because they were like, oh my God, you put me up on your Instagram, even though he didn't have a lot of followers. Before you know it, he was gaining tons of followers because people were like, oh my God, I'm on Bob's Instagram.
If you're a brand, right, and you're thinking about going in with athletes, what are they thinking about when they're going into the athletes in their digital environment? Like, how does an athlete prep for the brand coming in and being a part of the conversation?
Yeah, no. I think you should follow Mr. Beast. So the number one YouTuber in the world is Mr. Beast. He's a 23-year-old guy. He works out of North Carolina. He's not here in Los Angeles. He's the number one YouTuber. And watch what he says. He says, make your first 100 videos, put them up on YouTube, then decide. So he works with brands, and the brands don't tell him what to do. He says, I'm Mr. Beast, give me your brand. Don't worry, you're gonna get a lot. And his videos routinely do 100 million views. Everyone is a minimum 100 million views.
Okay, if you're not Mr. Beast.
If you're not, no, use Mr. Beast as a way to build out your community. If you're gonna work with a brand, I would avoid it for as long as possible. I know that's not the right thing to say, but I would avoid it. Build your community, like be a relation. You don't want someone, because the brand's gonna come in and they're gonna tell you what they want.
Okay, so you're building your audience. Then the question is why? If you're not making money out of it, why are you building it?
Yeah, exactly, why? You're gonna get paid from TikTok, you're gonna get paid from YouTube, you're gonna get paid from Twitter. There's 3 in a row, right? Instagram's X. So they pay. So TikTok is 4 cents to 6 cents per 1,000. I think Twitter is about 6 cents.
X.
And then YouTube, I'm not really sure because that's a bit all over the place. You have to have a certain number of subscribers. You have to post a certain amount of time. Same with Twitter. I believe it's 100,000. You must have 100,000 followers. So there are ways you can get paid from the platforms. The reason why I'm saying avoid the brands is that when a brand comes to the table, I just switch it around for the athletes or anybody. I'm like, if you were going to tell another athlete that you wanted them to promote you, so you're doing a collab, what would you say and what would they not be allowed to say about you, right? That's what the brands are very protective. Some of them are 100-year-old brands. So I would avoid working with brands until you're extremely comfortable in the environment. And then what I would do first is promote your own brand. So make a t-shirt. Go to the t-shirt. There's tons of t-shirt companies online. Make your own little t-shirt and try and sell that. Right? Before you bring in a big brand, because then you'll get an idea of what a brand will expect. And they have expectations and they will sign you to contracts. And if you screw up that contract, they will be very upset. And you don't want to damage your long-term. The biggest problem with young athletes is that, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, is that they are very experienced athletes because they've been doing it since they were 3 years old. But they're not very experienced when it comes to content and the advertising world. Right? And it's serious. Like, we're not messing around.
Athletes watching this podcast, what are their takeaways? Like, what should they really care about in terms of the digital world?
It depends on the athlete. Like some are really outgoing and gregarious, and others are like, I just want to focus on my sport. I just want to play the game. I think you've got to do what's important for you, and you know, everybody's thinking about money here in America. It's all about cash, and we recently had that rule change, which allowed athletes to promote things, especially at NCAA colleges, which is super important. And they're getting paid a lot of money. It's now legal for them to take endorsement. So this is a big deal for them. So their social media became really important, right? And they now have to have it. Before they didn't really care about it. So I think that you know, you just need to make a decision about that. It can't overwhelm your life. So, you know, pick a platform and find and do something that's fun and get creative. And I know this sounds cheesy as hell, but just have fun. Like have fun. People notice the fun, right? When you're overthinking it and you're like, oh, I don't know what to post. Just post fun stuff, or post stuff with other people, or I don't know, like do whatever. It's just have fun with the medium. They're so easy to use, and you'll do great.
Gavin McGarry. Thanks, bro.